Hello there and welcome to Bowls 360. Well, as you can see, I'm Suchless. Lee the Lord Such is over in Tasmania. Well, actually he's just landed in Melbourne, but he's been in Tasmania doing our state proud by competing in the Champion of Champions singles. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone too well for the WA people over there at the moment. There are still more games to come, so hopefully we can get some medals going forward. But let's look at the Premier League for round 5. Of course, we've had one game completed. Let's have a look at that. That was the Osborne Park Manning game that was played last Friday night at Osborne Park. It was 7 points to 1. I went out there and watched. It was a tight contest for half the game. Then Aussie Park just pulled away, played the better of the conditions to win there by 26 shots. So a good win to Osborne Park there. They remain undefeated going into the end of round 5. No matter what happens this weekend, they will be the only undefeated team in the Premier League. They're flying at the moment. The Saints are going really well. So let's have a look at the remaining games though. First up, we'll have a look at the Mount Lawley versus Coburn game. It'll be the first time they've played each other in the Premier League. Mount Lawley currently 3rd on the ladder, playing Coburn 10th without a win yet. No change at Mount Lawley. For Coburn, the ins are Muselin, Jopulic, McGill. Out goes Gallipo, Tapania and Steve Sahoy. Tony Krajanski there, the story at the moment. He's winding back the clock. He's undefeated as a skipper for Coburn. I suspect that'll be changed this weekend. I think Mount Lawley will go 8-0 and give Coburn a pretty comprehensive touch-up with a big margin here. Mount Lawley starting to flex their muscles. They're going really well after that blip in round 1. They've looked the goods with an 8-0 last week against Leeming. They should do the same this week against Coburn. For our round 2, or the next fixture, Bassendean versus Doubleview. The home record there, Bassendean a 6-16 and 2 draws record, but it is a lot better at Bassendean where it is a 5-6 record. Obviously Doubleview proving too hard for Bassendean, but it is at Bassendean, so they would fancy themselves for sure. It is 5th versus 9th, no change at Bassendean. Gav Faulkner is back for Doubleview at the expense of Steve Surf. So how does this game play out? I think Doubleview will come back. It's unusual to see them with winless at this stage of the year, although I think they were winless, probably not that unusual because they were winless at this point last year as well. I suspect it wasn't winless, they were 1. They struggled for the first 5 or 6 games last year as well. So, and they're doing it again this year. Bassendean at home it's not a fortress like a lot of other clubs have at their home venues, so it is certainly gettable for Doubleview. They're not as bad as where they are on the ladder. I think they'll come out swinging in this game. As a Bassendean bowler, obviously I'm hoping that we can hang on and get the win. It'd be nice to have some two good away wins that we've had the last 2 weeks at South Perth and Cambridge. It'd be good to solidify that and win at home against Doubleview. If Doubleview lose though, gee, that makes their season interesting for their last 13 odd games just to get out of the bottom 4, because that's where they've got to get to save themselves from a relegation a challenge game. 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th, obviously automatic demotion. So big game here, but I'm going to go for Bassendean. The next game we'll look at is the Sorrento-Cambridge game. It is at Sorrento. They have a 7-5 record at the venue. It is a 4-2 record at the venue and a 7-5 head-to-head record. Interesting, they've got the wood over Cambridge a bit. It is 7th versus 6th for Sorrento. In comes Mortimer and Linford. Out goes Dix and Munro. For Cambridge, no change there. I've gone probably a bit of an upset in light of those stats. I've gone Cambridge away from home. They'll be smarting after last week's loss against us at Bassendean. They were pretty much miles behind early. They were 30-35 shots down with about 8 ends played across the board. So what's that, 30 odd ends down. They were 30-40 shots behind, but they came back, they rallied to only lose by 4 in the end. Sorrento, they're a bit of an enigma in the Premier League. Who knows when they'll play. They're certainly, when they turn it on and play at their capacity, they are as good as anyone else. So it's going to be a tough game to win at home, but I'm just gonna lean towards Cambridge coming back from last week's loss and having the win here. The final game to look at is the South Perth Leaming game. Unfortunately, no teams provided by those two teams, and head to head looks like they haven't played each other in the Premier League either. It is South Perth 4th playing Leaming 8th. I'm going to go with South Perth here. The home advantage there. I think Leaming will struggle to win too many games away from home this year. They've got a good home advantage, but I'm not sure they're so good away from home. So South Perth should win this one fairly comfortably on the weekend. That brings us to the end and the tips. Suchi has dialed in for Melbourne. He's gone for all the home sides this week. Osborne Park we both went for in last week's video. Mount Lawley, Bassendean, Sorrento and South Perth. I've gone with the one different with my Cambridge selection over Sorrento. I'm holding a 1 point advantage, 14-13 over Suchi early on in the season. Alright, that brings us to an end for the Premier League chat today. Hope everyone's play well this weekend. Hope your team has a win, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.